Oh, ready to translate it? Can you read it? There's no pictures on it.
Okay, we're starting now then.
Yep, right, so our first speaker is Troy on language.
Okay, just going to go through the talk, and if you have any notes or comments that you can add to the paper, and then when you take it home, at least it's going to make more sense to you. So, I think all of us realize that there's something going on that is unusual. Things are slightly off kilter. The reason for that is because of attention. What's going on is that everyone, or the people who pretend to be your leaders, all they want is your attention. Because once they focus your attention elsewhere and not on yourself, they're able to control you. So they always want to. I'm sorry, I don't have. I'll try and speak louder. I wish I had a microphone. I don't have a very loud voice. But I hope you can hear me at the back. So the point of what's going on around is that people are trying to take your focus away from yourself and then do something else. So that's what the battle is. And the reason for that is because they want your energy. And it's as simple as that. Because you, for the fact that you generate heat, that's energy in itself. But that's all they want from you is your energy and what they call your sweat equity. So everything that you work for, somebody else is going to claim that they own. Okay. Now, in this, the reality of what we live in, which they don't teach in the schools, is that in a circle like that, the human psyche's got only two emotions, the basic emotions. So you have the top one being love and the bottom one being fear. And these also represent electricity and magnetism. So it's positive and negative energies. So this could be said to be benevolent energies and malevolent energy. That's all that's happening there. So the interchanging of positive and negative is what gives you life, is what breath is. When you breathe in is negative, when you breathe out is positive. When you punch is positive, when you withdraw is negative. The sun gives you positive energy, and the earth, or say the moon, is in negative energy. That's the interrelation. So as long as you understand energies, and that you are an energy, the only thing is that this expression of you right now, as a human, is only, I'd say, 9% of your entire being. You see, so you're focusing on a very small part, being the physical part. So what they tend to do is tend to make you, try to convince you that you have nothing else except your physicality, which is not true. Your physicality is 9%. Everything else is around you, which is your auric field, which you cannot see, but your auric field affects your physical state, if you will. So the thing you're supposed to be working on is your auric fields, not so much your physical, you see, but that's what the focus in. Now, on the same subject, you have to understand that you have three brains, if you will, in your body. So you have your top brain, which is in your head. Then you have your real brain, which is your heart. And then you have your other brain, which is your stomach, you see. So the battle over the years has conquered this one. So they've taken over this brain in the sense that they're going to poison it and control what you eat. And what you put in your stomach determines what you think, you see. So they've taken control of this. They've been working on this as well. And this is to do with your brain. They want to convince you that somebody called the government scientist, he's from the Ministry of Truth. And he's the guy who knows everything. And everything with him is empirical. So they're dealing with this as well. Anything that's not scientifically proven doesn't exist, which is nonsense. This is the reality, that you operate from your heart, which has got the biggest auric fields. That's your true being, you see. So that's what you're supposed to be operating from. I don't want to put you here or here. So right now the battle is in your heart. That's where the war on terror is, the war on your heart. Because once they destroy the hearts of the people, and people don't care anymore, then the battle is won. Then Satan takes over man, and is going to control it. So the battle is here, to make people become unconscious beings who have no compassion, like they are, automatons, you have no compassion, you treat people like robots. Exactly, so it's orders and commands. I don't care about emotion, your feelings, I'm ordering you and commanding you. Once everyone starts treating everyone else like that, then it's finished. So that's what the battle is on the heart right now. That's why we have a war on terror, a war on earth. Because earth is an anagram of heart. That's what earth is. So that's what's going on right now. So all this other confusion around is just to confuse you, take away from who you are, and to place you somewhere else. So they want to take away your dominion authority and to place lesser authority on you. So that's all you have to do. Right now is to ensure that no man takes over your dominion authority over this planet. That's it. That's the entire game. Okay. So what they do is they focus on this, what would be called negative energies, and on the fear factor. So all the mass media and all the propaganda is going to be based on fear. So they're going to make you want to fear me for whatever reasons. It could be because of my religion, it could be because of my, what they call a race, it could be for my heritage, whatever reason, but there has to be a division between us so that we can have conflict. When you have conflict, you create friction. When you create friction, you create heat. And that's the energy these beings thrive on. It's a negative energy that's created when conflict is created. That's why the world is divided and it's being ruled on that basis. That I'm going to cause conflict between you two people. When you're fighting, I'm going to take that energy. Now, the physical, your physicality, these beings, they live on a different vibration. We are all in the same plane. They're here right now. But the fact that we cannot see them because they're in a different vibration. These ones, what I call demons, they operate on a very low vibration. So when you're on a very low vibration and you're very depressed and you hate the whole world and you hate everyone, that's when you're interacting with them. And the thoughts that you think are your own are not your own because they're putting those thoughts in your head because you're interacting here. If you choose to interact with love, which is unconditional love, and it's not Hollywood love, it's unconditional love for everything. If you operate here, then you're going to spiral up as well. The beings that live up here are going to interact with you. And these beings, they're not destructive, they're creative beings. The ones up here are destructive. So if you engage here, you're going to end up in destructive behavior. If you engage with these beings on a higher level, you're going to end up being creative. That's the story of that. Okay. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So everything is energy. Man is energy, manifest as a combination of both love and hate. That's the uniqueness which separates man from all other beings. That's your combination of the two, because you're made of both. If you take this to be the earth, then you're going to have feminine energies or elements. So the earth and water is feminine elements. Then you have fire and air, which are masculine elements. So these are more spiritual, these are more solid, if you will. So the man is right in the middle. So that when you die, your physical body goes back to the elements on the earth, but your consciousness, your spirit, goes higher. And it's going to deal with the spirits. And if you acted in a certain way, if you acted like a deity, the deities will welcome you because you're one of them. If you acted like a beast, they're going to reject you, and you have to go and deal with the beasts. That's why you end up in hell. That's all it is. It's mind. But that I mean, by mind, I mean if you spend your life 70 years thinking negative thoughts, when you die, those negative thoughts continue. Because that's all you're accustomed to, that's all you're used to. And that's your hell. Because you can't wake up from it. Unlike now, when you have a nightmare, you wake up and oh, thank God it's finished. When you're dead, you're going to have the nightmares, but you won't be able to wake up. So it's going to carry on forever. That's the thing, it's a mind thing. And if you're here, it's going to carry on forever as well. Eternal life and the bliss up there. So the energy of man is at present being manipulated into fear so as to feed the lower beings. That's all that's going on. So it's up to us not to succumb to fear. And the fear is this, the world is going to run out, there's not enough food, the fear of there's aliens coming to eat you up, there is the United's going to kill us, they're going to poison everything, so we always live in fear. Why? Because we watch the television. I mean, I don't know, I haven't seen television for a few years, so I don't know what's there. But when I used to watch it, I know what's there. And I know how I used to think when I used to watch television. So once I stop watching TV, I don't know what goes on. I'm not part of it anymore. So I live a different life. So I don't have those fears anymore. I'm not seeing dead people every day. I'm not seeing wars every day. I'm not seeing this thing. They don't exist in my life. My life is full of bliss. Every day I'm out in the country, and I'm doing my artwork, and I'm doing things that make me happy. So I don't really care what the so-called government is putting out there. I'm not part of the propaganda. Some of us left the system years ago, and we're not going back. We don't care about these fools because we know who they are and what they do. Okay, so the battle for the stomach, as I said, is won. They've taken over that through the genetically modified foods. And also, for people who are interested in this stuff seriously, you can do your research into smart dust and what that's all about, and about nano robots, nanotechnology. They're putting transmitters and receivers in the air. They're so small that you can inhale them. But because they're en masse, once you inhale them, their receivers and transmitters, they can receive radio signals. That's what's going on. Sometimes people go crazy and think, what just happened to this guy? But if you see what they're spraying out there...
I read something about that the other day.
Yeah, that's what's going on. There's no alien. The alien is not a big monster from out there. The alien is very small. And the alien is being put inside you. So it's a battle, it's an internal battle. So you need to cleanse yourself from the inside, not from the outside. By that I mean, you have to check your diet, and you have to hydrate yourself, and you have to get enough sleep. And that way, it keeps these guys at bay. It's easier for them to confuse someone who eats processed food than somebody who eats live foods. That's where it is. It's easier for them to confuse someone whose body is acidic than for them to confuse somebody whose body is alkaline. Because you're thinking differently. Because your brain is functioning differently. That's all there is to it. Yeah, okay. So the energy, it's called energy vampirism. What they're doing is this. Because they live on this plane. You cannot create on this plane. You're a destroyer. The people who live up here create. So this is all. So these people need these people to live. But it's the people who create that they feed up. So that's what the energy vampirism is all about. I cannot do anything for myself, so I'm going to cling on to you to eat off what you create. So I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to let you work. And then once you finish working, I'm going to send you a letter saying, guess what? You owe me some money. Give me some money. And if you don't know what the law is, you're going to give me the money. That's the entire game. It's a trick. Okay. So, okay. Yeah, so I was saying on this plane, man, as it were, man separate from the other animals, man is the only creature that has choice. The other ones, they're compelled. They have no choice. Man can choose to be here or be here. That's it. And once you choose, then in life, you go to a different dimension. So it's just a matter of choice. So we're encouraging people to get away from this thing, because we've been here, this is the dark ages. We've been here for a while, so it's time to come out of it. And it's a cycle as well. So there's a point in our existence where it was all golden age. And they built all the monuments, and they could project themselves like Luke. By using your mind, you could go to places without an airplane. Focus on it, and then you move all your molecules to that position there without walking there. I stand here and actually focus, and then move all my photons and all my molecules there. That's how they used to do it. But to do that, you have to have unconditional love for the universe and everything in it. And to do that, you also have not to eat foods that are dead. You see, so people did that, and they went to the Dark Ages, and they introduced all the nonsense that we're living through. Now we're coming out of the Dark Ages back into the light. The point we are at right now here is the point of the apocalypse, where they say that everything that's been hidden from you is going to be revealed. So that's why you're getting all this information. So the people who use it, but do not be deceived anymore, that there's a man somewhere that's got authority over you, because there isn't. There's only one. Your creator is the only one who has authority over you. That's it. All these other people are agents of private corporations. You see, they have authority over you. Because when we talk about authority, and we put that word God, but we use it for now. So we say the divine creator of all things. He's the one on top, because he created everything else. If we go according to their stories, that they derive their authority from the Bible. God gave them authority. That's why the Pope is the conduit, or he's the middleman. Because you don't know what you're doing, but the Pope knows he can talk to God directly. And then God can come and tell you what he said. So yeah, that's what they claim to derive the authority from. But if you read their books, It said that God created man. So man is number 2 here. And also, God gave man dominion over everything on the plane. So if you have dominion over everything on the plane, which is the water on it, the air, the animals that creepeth on it, and whatever else, how can I come and charge you for that? And say you have to pay me to drink from the river or to breathe the air? It's ridiculous. Now, once man had the authority, dominion over the plane, he created something called a GOVT to help manage the dominion. He created government. That was it. So the authority is derived this way. You see. So government, let's say, government can never tell man what to do. And man can never tell God what to do. And that's the authority, period. That's it. So how these people pretend to be public servants who act here come up and raise themselves up so they can tell man what to do is as ridiculous as man going up here and telling God what to do. But that's what we believe now. That's how authority is created in their system.
Starts in the schools, doesn't it?
Yeah. So where do they derive authority? It's presumed, you see. It's not real authority. It's a presumption of authority. And what they use is something called color of law. Because you know there is law, and then there is statute, which is not law. It's a regulation. It's a rule of a private corporation. So the rules of this private corporation cannot apply on a living thing, because this is dead. This is a corpse. 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 It's a corp. It is a corporation. These are legal entities. It doesn't exist. It exists on paper only. So how can something that exists on paper only tell something that's real, blood, living, flesh and blood, what to do? What happens is that the employees or agents of this are the ones who abuse their position. It's a living men and women in here who abuse their position. That's all. But government is not in a position to tell man what to do. These are your public servants. You tell your servants what to do. If you don't like what they do, you sack them and you get new servants. But you cannot have a servant who's doing a lousy job and then he's belligerent and he won't listen to you and he's insisting to give his service by force. He said, we don't need your public services, not today, and not by force. Okay, you're going to give us the service we want or you're going to F off. It's as simple as that. Yeah, it's as simple as that. You work for me, I don't work for you. Exactly. I didn't choose to be a public servant. You did. So do your job properly. If it's too hard, get out of the kitchen. And let somebody who can do it, But don't give me a hard time about it. Yeah. Okay. So, the present issue. Away from all these metaphysical things, the present issue right now that you need to know, that the deception, of how the trick, how the, this is what we call the devil. The devil is not this horned creature that's, I don't know what people mean the devil is. This is the devil. The devil is the principalities and municipalities that the living man fights against. That this is trying to take over. The devil wants to destroy man. The devil promised God that I'm going to destroy the thing that you created. You see, it's called man. How is he going to do that? He's going to convince man that man is not man, but man is a person. And a person is this, corporation. So the devil has convinced you that you're on this lost state with him, that you're a corporation just like him, and he's going to deal with you in an equal status. And for a long time we've been believing that that government is or a corporation is on an equal standing as man. It's not. A corporation might have status, a man has a standing, you see. So that's the wording you need to differentiate, a status and standing. They have no standing, only a living man has standing. A corporation might have status. It's a lower form of authority or right. Okay. Now what the thing that's going on now right now, that the claims that we're preparing against these fools is of modern slavery, because that's what they're doing today. Yeah. It's the same thing that's happened throughout, because I think we all know by now who's running the show. It's a Roman cult. Those have been slave traders since the beginning. The Romans never left. It's the same system, because all roads still lead to Rome. The Vatican is the president of the world, of the world corporations. The Vatican owns all countries, because every country is a trust, a private trust. So every country is part of his trust. Okay? So how did the devil cheat man? By changing the language, right? So what they did was, okay, anyway, sometimes people really wind me up, because it's so stupid and so simple, but they get away with it, and that's what's annoying, you see. But anyway, I'll try and go slow with this one.
Simplicity is not always exposed, is it? So it's
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah, if you simplify things, you see them clearly. What they do is complicate things, so you
Yeah.
think it's so hard I cannot understand it.
Then if it's too simple, people don't believe it.
Exactly. But the thing is so simple, sometimes you just sit and laugh and think, oh, if you do this, then they're gone. But because they've complicated things, that's the legal industry stuff. They like litigation, they like argument, you see, because they thrive off it, because they're scavengers, you see. So when they see blood or dead bodies, that's where they get their food from, you see. Anyway, back to modern slavery. Modern slavery is a game of deception, and the language known as Babel, or we call it gobbledygook, they call it Legalese, is the key instrument that is in use. So once you understand that language is the deception, they will not be able to deceive you anymore. So today we're going to go briefly to what they're doing, so you can clock and you can check them out on the trial. Right. Now, foreign de facto governments have taken over the government of the people, and this is all over the world, and turned all countries into corporations, and the people into what they call citizens. If you look at what a citizen is, it comes from Rome as well, citizen of Rome. And they've turned people into subjects, and you can look at what a subject is. If you attach to that legal definition of a subject, and you agree that you're a subject, then you'll be treated a certain way. They also call people slaves, agricultural product, because you're chattel, by the way, because your parents sold you at birth, and now somebody owns you as part of their property, and they call you chattel. So you're agricultural product, and you're also things, and you're a human being, right? And that's the worst thing you can do. When you're drafting your contracts, don't use the word human, because I think we all know what a human is by now.
Monster.
A human is a monster
Yeah.
with no rights,
Yeah.
inheritable rights.
Yeah, I know that.
So when you go in up there banging about your human rights,
Yeah.
you say, yeah, come in. You want your human rights? There's your human rights, because you have no rights. Basically, you're a human. If you say I'm a human, you've just killed yourself.
Why do we have rights? Because we have no rights.
Yep. You have no rights. It's all fiction, you see. But it's a dead game anyway. But the word, certain words you want to get away from: citizen, subjects, things like that. You want to be man always, person as well. It's a dangerous one. So all your contracts, please be man. Why do you want to be man? Because that's the only thing that God created, was a man.
Live in flesh and blood.
Yeah. So you can say, I'm a living man, or a living soul, because you're a soul. You're not a man. The man is the 9% I'm talking about. The rest is the soul. And not everyone has a soul, by the way. There's some people who have no souls. So these are the automatons who have no soul.
A name doesn't identify who you are.
Name is nothing. Name is just, it's irrelevant. It's an enemy anyway. We say an enemy is an enemy. That's what it is, enemy. It's the worst enemy in this environment anyway. You don't want to have a name. You might have an appellation, or you may be known as, but you don't want to have a name in the system. A name is a dangerous thing. Okay, now, there is a clear distinction that you have to know between the law and what they call corporate governance. Corporate governance is the administration they're doing with you by using their rules, regulations, and statutes. That's governance. It's far removed from what law is. The law is very simple. Do no harm to man or property, or threaten them with harm, and do no fraud. That is it, finished. If I don't cause any harm on anyone, I haven't broken the law. And that's the end of it. If I break a rule of a private corporation, I haven't broken the law, you see. So that's the entire game. There's a difference between law and a statute, and you need to know what the difference is. So when they come to you and talking about they're going to impose their private statutes on you, you have to inform them that, hang on a second, I don't live here in the land of the dead. I'm a living man. So guess what? Your statutes and your rules don't apply to me unless you can prove it. They can never do it anyway because they operate at a presumption. Okay? Now how is the presumption created? Now this is the interesting part. This is where the language comes in. Okay? Now, because the law requires that a man, you have to commit an act that is in breach of the peace, that's the wording anyway, breach of the peace, for your rights and your liberties to be interfered with. That is the law. So if you just stand still, and you don't do anything, you haven't broken the law. You see. So if you don't get a license to breathe, you haven't broken the law. If you don't get an ID to walk down the street, you haven't broken the law. But somebody will try to convince you that you have, you see. So that's the trick right there. So there is a requirement for evidence of an injured party before somebody can make a claim, you see, that you've broken the law. So somebody, a living man here, has to show up and say, you did this and you caused me injury, loss in this manner. It has to be demonstrable. Apart from that, you haven't broken the law, period. You may have broken a rule, a regulation, but it's not the law. Now, this de facto government, they're foreign, by the way. They don't belong in England. I think we all know that by now. These are foreign governments that are running the show. So you have to have a distinction as well between England as the land that people live on and a corporation called, for instance, the United Kingdom Corporation Limited. That's two different things.
Same as America.
Yeah, same as America. American Republic is not the United States of America. It's two different things. You see, England is not United Kingdom of great whatever it is. It's not. This one is a corporation and one is the land that people live on. That's the difference. So if you, as a man, you live on the land, then the law of the land is what applies on you. These corporations here, they live in a fictitious land of the seas. The law of the sea applies on them. Maritime law, admiralty, that's what they apply on you.
It's all illusionary.
It's yeah. Everything is presumptions. Okay. Now, right. Now, contracts. When it comes to law, all law is contract. All of it. You see, as soon as it's put on paper, it becomes contract. So everything that's sent to you is a contract. It's an offer of contract. They always say that in the wording anyway. If you're really careful, it's going to say offer at some point. So it's up to you whether or not you're going to accept the offer. But most people don't know that they have that option. They can accept the offer or refuse it. See, so it's always an offer. Okay? Now, defects of their process. Number one, okay, if you don't want to get involved with this people who live it, we say this is the underworld. This is the underworld. From here, say this. So corporations are under the world, corpses. So this is the plane, tree, and whatever else. And people live here. That's the land. That's under. They live underground. For instance, the council, these are undertakers. Council only has responsibility for what? Anything under the ground. So how is it that they come up and collect money from you over the ground, people living on the land? These are underworld people, you see. Now, the defects of their process is this. If you don't want to deal with these people from the underground, they have to communicate with you in a certain way. To send, because they're dead, they have to deal with living people. How do they do it? By creating an instrument, written in a language that's not English, but resembles English, and then they send it out to a location, and here, and hope that you, a living man, is going to touch that document, and come underground to the venue, to the fictitious magician's court, to go and discuss nonsense there.
Yeah.
That's the entire trick. Okay? So now, what are you going to do about it? Number one, you have to understand, if service of process is defective, then the entire process is null and void, right? Now, how is their service defective? Number one, they frank mail. That's defective service of process. So you don't have to accept frank mail. You can send them all back. It's called
Fraud, did you say?
frank mail.
Oh, fake mail.
Yeah, it is fraud. It's called mail fraud.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Because what they're doing is this. The fraud is this. They're using the post office to make false claims against
Oh,
you.
right, yeah.
You see. But because if they record it, they're going to be liable for fraud.
Oh, yeah.
They don't record it.
Yeah, that's right.
They frank it.
Frank the mail.
You see. And they don't sign the letters. They're not
Prepaid.
liable.
Well,
They're very clever.
Yeah.
They're not really. They're stupid.
Prepaid mail.
Okay? But that's the entire game.
Yeah, but that's where fear kicks in and people think it's right.
And it's not right. But the WPO convention, but it's clear as day they can't make it legitimate again for themselves. Or
Yeah.
for a party, they're not allowed.
Well, that's the whole point. They cannot make false claims using the post office. And if you want, two things you can do. You can do with that. You can write using the word patron. So you write the post office. Say, I'm a patron of the post office. You see. Please do not send any further general mail to this location. That is it. Because that's free mail they bring you to. The front mail is free. It's like pizza things. You can say, I don't want this stuff in my mail anymore. So get rid of them, don't play their stupid game. Number one, they're going to front the mail. So you don't have to open it. Number two, they're going to address it to another corporation.
Legalese.
Another corporation, but in all caps, but the name resembles yours. They're going to want you to attach to it, and that's how they draw you in. You see? So number one is front the mail, send it back. Number two, this corporation doesn't exist. Number three, turn it on the back. These days, you're going to see a P.O. box.
Contracting venue.
Exactly. A P.O. box is a non-contracting venue. Why are they trying to contract with you from a P.O. box? They know it's a non-contracting venue. But since you don't know, you're going to be dug into the world of the dead. So that's how you stop these people dealing with you like that. Okay, if you're going to open this mail and you're going to deal with it, you're going to be honorable. The first time they send anything to you, you open it, and then you give them the proper way of how you accept service or process. So for instance, if my name is John Smith, this is it. Please write John Smith only. If you write to Mr. or Caps or John William Smith, this and that, I'm going to return it to you. Once you give them notice once, you stick to it.
Yeah.
And they cannot serve you anymore. They're going to keep sending their corporation letters. They might try again, but don't respond to it. You have to remain in honor.
Yeah.
Once you give notice, that's it. They're serving you, by the way. You're not here to serve them. So I'm saying to you, if you're going to serve me, this is how you're going to serve me. This is my name, and this is how you record your stuff, you put a stamp on it, and you sign it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not going to accept it. Because I don't know who's writing to me. You see, I'm not going to accept unsigned documents. Okay? But the reason why they don't sign is because they're trying to evade liability. Nobody accepts responsibility anymore. Why? Because in October 2012, all charters were revoked for all these fake governments. So all de facto governments they no longer have a charter to do the business they're doing. Same as the banks. They have no charter. So how the hell can they carry on right now? By that I mean they cannot carry on buying and selling bonds, which are created through the Bank of International Settlements using birth certificates. That was cancelled, revoked. So they cannot trade in your trusts anymore. You're supposed to go and take over your trust and run them yourself. You see, that's it. So they have no charter anyway. Okay?
Was that a moto proprio?
That was
That came out
before.
2013.
This was before the voto proprio. Voto proprio 2013 September. I'm talking about a UCC document that was filed, I think October 20, the year 2012. So a year before that. So if you need to go online and get the UCC numbers, if you're going to use that, you can use that as your. You can rely on those documents.
Excuse me, who filed that document?
Who filed it?
Yeah.
I think it's the One World People's Trust. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're still in jail.
I'm sorry?
Some of them are still in jail.
Well, they can be in jail, I don't know, but the facts of the filing stand.
Yeah.
The facts are
Be
unrebutted.
careful, everybody.
No, the point is this. Okay, if you're going to stand up for yourself, for your rights, be prepared to go to jail. Be prepared to get police harassing you. We are prepared to go through all this stuff because we know what they're doing and we're not afraid of them neither. The point is this, that if you stand up for your rights and you stand up for your rights, either be a man or a mouse. Some of us will face these people face to face because we know they are wrong, they're deceivers and they're thieves. And we don't care about their jails, we don't care about their prisons, and we don't care about their guns or their threats or their chemtrails. We don't care about these people. What we're saying to them is this, leave us alone.
Yes.
You see, leave us alone. We don't want to contract with you. We don't care what you're doing. F off. That is it. We know who you are. You work for the devil. You work for this guy here. You're here to destroy. You're trying to destroy our heart. And we don't want to deal with you. You cannot force us into your contracts by putting us into prison. Big deal. As far as I know, these people spend 27 years in jail standing up for their rights. So jail doesn't scare anyone anymore.
Can I say something here a minute?
Yeah.
If they do arrest you, don't say your name.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's it.
It's a trick as well.
No,
What I'm saying is this. What I'm saying is this. The people who are going to come and arrest you, they're going to come and arrest you under something called a rule or regulation, you see. They're going to try and drag you on the land of the dead. So I'm saying, the arrest itself, if they arrest you under a statute, they breach their oath, you see. So the arrest itself is unlawful, the imprisoning is unlawful. So they cannot scare us with these stupid things about they're going to put you in prison.
The thing is, which comes to language, first of all, just because you've been put in prison doesn't mean you've done anything wrong.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But you have actually done something wrong because there's two states that you're only allowed today. Guilty, not guilty.
No.
Guilty is,
There's
I
no
accept
please.
your I accept
There's more
responsibility
pleas
for
than
the
guilty, not
charges
guilty.
and
There's 7
that's
pleas
what
altogether.
Yeah.
It's not just guilty, not guilty. There's 7 pleas.
Got
Yeah,
murder.
yes, I appreciate
Yeah, there's a whole,
two
anyway,
words.
we're getting distracted, we're gonna go into
Yeah.
something else. I'm gonna go back to what I'm talking about. It's a language I wanna get into, so I'm not gonna get into any other thing right now.
Troy, can I
Okay.
just say, if you,
So,
if
the-
you get arrested, the policeman will tell you exactly, he will tell you, you have the right to remain silent.
Exactly, so remain
And they
silent.
are so frightened of you being silent.
The silence is what kills it.
Stiff of you being silent, they
Okay.
make you talk.
The silence is what kills you. If you speak to these people, you're gonna enter into contracts.
Yeah, John.
I'm telling you myself,
Get John.
I'm telling you myself. When I was coming through, because I used to do common law and we used to read about the Constitution,
Yes.
believe it, right? When they first started messing with me, I thought these people had a brain and they also had a heart. So I used to talk to them as people. Hang on a second, but the law says this, that, and the other.
There was a
And I got into conversation with them. The conversation is what creates the joiner.
Yeah.
You see? So the thing, when they stop you, number one is this, are you acting under oath? He's not. The second thing is this, no comment, no contract, and guess what? No consent.
That's
Period.
it, draw
That's
consent.
it.
There was one chap I
You see?
read, he said, I don't answer questions.
Exactly.
And there was
You
something-
don't have to answer questions.
I
You don't have to answer to a public serve. Anyway, I don't want to get into this stuff. It's ridiculous. Just, no more, stop. I'm going to carry on. I need to carry on with this stuff.
You're right.
Because I have a few pages to carry on, so I'm going to carry on. Okay? So the operation of the Roman count is this. Right? They create accounts at birth. These accounts are eventually posted to Rome, and in collaboration with Bank of International Settlements, they create bonds, and then they split the title into two. So you have a record of live birth, and then you have a birth certificate. So when you're born, you get a record of live birth that you're living. Okay? And then you take your record of live birth to these dead people here, and you give it to them, and you get a receipt. You see?
Best.
That's your birth certificate. Now you transfer title. They have equitable title, you have a legal title to an account as a debtor, because of the way that the names are spelled.
They don't put
Now-
on that birth certificate after your name. It's the word
Right, can we just
estate.
carry on though, sorry.
On-
Right, sorry, Troy's giving the talk, so can we just carry on?
On the original birth certificate, it's got the estate written under it.
Right, so I presume I don't need to write the old caps anyway. So, at the birth certificate, you're going to have, for instance, your name is John Smith. That's what your parents call you. When you do your registration, you're going to end up with something like John Smith William. And you're going to end up with this thing here called a surname. A surname is a surety name.
Yeah.
And this is a property of Rome.
Yeah.
So as soon as you use that name in any capacity, you accept that you are a subject and a citizen of Rome. That's all there is. That's the trick. That's all there is to the wording. And also, the way they style it. When they style it like this, in all caps, it simply means 3 corporations.
Yeah.
It's dot, 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 and dot. 1, 2, and 3. It's not a living, it's not a man. It's here, it's a corporation, it's here. So they always want to take you away from your proper standing in law and bring you down to the corporate level, so they can corporate govern you. And that's all that's going on. Okay? Deception in the language. So the name number one, you don't want to attach yourself to that name, especially the late name, what they call the last name. The late name, the last name is a dead name, and that the dead, everything corporation is the property of Rome, period. A person is the property of Rome. So you never want to be a person, you're going to be a man all the time. Okay? So, right, and then we're going to go on to the deception of our language. So language number one is this, the styling. The styling of the corporations. You have to understand the difference between descriptive text, for instance. English is descriptive. This is illustrative. These are logos, they're not names. So this is hieroglyphs. Okay? So it's sign language, Egyptian hieroglyphs. When you write your name, you write it like that. If you want to do it properly the way we do it, we do this. Always. Because by removes,
Mr.
there's no, oh, Mr. They always use a Mr. as well. We all know what a Mr. is, right? By the way? A Mr.
On the gear.
is a nom de guerre, it's a name of war. It's a civil term or tous, which means
Yeah.
you're civilly dead, you have no rights. You see, that's what a mister is. It's a dead bonded slave.
And it's also the lowest rank in the forces as well.
That's
It's
right.
the lowest rank in the infantry. The infants being what we all are. That's what they regard us
Minus
as.
minorities.
Because we are infants. We're the kids in the Roman army. Because the Roman army, the Roman cult is a cult of sick people. They like abusing children. And part of their abuse is to recruit them in armies. So they used to use infants to go and fight the wars. They used to call it infantry. They still call it infantry today. And the infants use the language of the infants, which is dog Latin, which you're going to get into in a minute. That's where it comes from. So the language of the illiterate infants is dog Latin. And that's what all documents of de facto governments are drafted in. That's why all the documents are invalid. For that reason. It's in dog Latin, it's not in English. Okay. So, you are presumed dead and lost at sea by claiming and attaching yourself to any of their proposed liability statements. So when they send the envelope to you, you see a brown envelope, it's a coffin with a box in it, with a dead body inside. And you take that coffin and you open it, and you claim that body to be yours, automatically you lose your standing as a man, and you end up in the land of the living. You become a legal fiction. And now the rules, statutes, and procedures now apply on you. That's the trick. Okay? So the point is not to be dragged into this world of the dead. All right? And also say ignorance is negligence. But there is no excuse anymore because we all know this stuff. We've been talking about this stuff for years. So we all know it, but whether or not we put it in practice, that's the question. We all know what the truth is, but are we willing to live it? You see, because a whole bunch of us do a lot of talking. When it comes to doing this thing, they don't do it. They go back home and watch TV. You see, but for us, some of us, it's a lifestyle. We chose it for a long time ago. We're not turning. It's like the Bible story when you leave Sodom and Gomorrah. You don't look back, because when you do look back, you turn into a pillow of salt. So we left Sodom and Gomorrah a long time ago, and we're not looking back. We don't care what's going back, what's happening in their system. We don't give a rat's ass, because we know it's corrupt from the core. It's being run by this guy here, called the devil. You see. We don't deal with the devil anymore. We know the devil system, how it works. The devil system is there to deprive you of your sweat equity, and your energy. That's all it's doing. You see, and to recycle you. That's another talk altogether. To do how people are being recycled into this matrix over and over again. We'll do that talk another day. Now, the language is, number one, glossa, which means putting capitals where they're not supposed to be, or using illustrative text instead of descriptive text. It's not English.
Nope.
Once you identify these things on a document, you send that document back and say, could I please have your offer in English? So that's what we're dealing with now. We're not getting involved in the subject or whatever it is they're claiming.
Okay.
It's irrelevant. What we're saying is this: you send something to us on this date, we receive it on this date. Guess what? It's written in something called dog Latin, which we believe is the language of the illiterates and criminals. Could you please write to us your offer again in English? And we'll be able to consider it. That's all we do with it now.
Yeah.
And they're all keeping away. Because none of them write in English.
Because we're competent.
They've been using these templates and dog Latin language forever, so they cannot write in English. So when we use the manuals and we construct our contracts in English, they cannot respond to us. That's how we deal with all cases right now. So it's all in the language.
Can I just correct that? It should be John William Smith. It should be John Smith, because Smith is it should be John William.
Don't matter which way around, the capitalization is what's killing it.
William's a surname as well.
That's a surname.
Don't matter.
That's your Christian name, and that's your surname. Because you have two titles, you have Christian and surname. And then one is a data complete, and one this side is supposed to be a creditor. But my point is this: because it's about attention, the devil wants your attention, so he's going to keep you busy with all these letters and all these false claims. You see, the point is, do not give any attention at all. He's not writing to you. He's writing to his, say, someone who's on an equal standing or status in law as him, which is here. You're on a higher status, so maintain your higher status. Be closer to God than the devil, because it's God who created you, not the devil, you see.
Do you use the word by instead in front of your name then?
Yeah, oh, sorry, I was going to say how I write mine.
Oh,
Mine,
I
do
Yeah.
by,
Yeah.
we do colon,
Yeah.
right? John,
Okay.
Oh, I see. All lowercase, yeah.
and then you put the middle name, you put a line in that,
Yeah.
and then you put Smith,
Yeah.
and then 2 dots, William.
Oh, brilliant.
All in lowercase.
Yeah.
Right, now it has to be written that way. There's an autograph as opposed to a signature. You have to understand the difference between that and something like,
That's nonsense.
okay?
Yeah.
So that's a signature, right? That belongs here, in the line of the deck. Why? It's cursive. It's cursive. When you do autograph, you write your name out. They don't touch. The words, I'll just read it again.
Oh, don't rub it out.
I'll do it
No,
again.
it's going to do it again.
Alright, it's alright.
And then normally at the bottom I just put my all rights reserved.
All right through there.
So yeah, signature and not got two different things.
So, but.
And if you look at your birth certificate and you go home, you'll see it's taken the epithet itself is all in caps. Christian side, you've got one of these in caps and then it's in lowercase. Check it when you go home because they're accessing both your columns. They'll tell you about it.
That's right.
So that's an example of what an autograph is and what a signature is. An autograph is done by a living man. So if you find somebody who's called a star, you know what a star is. Everybody's trying to shine,
Celebrities.
right? So you become a star, you don't have to for a signature, you have to for what? For an autograph. Because that signifies the living being. A signature is simply a sign, your sign of nature. You see, they need a signature to then monetize the paper. That this piece of paper was signed for by a living being and monetize it. That's all they need a signature for. You see. So that's the difference. So this is legal fiction, and that is real. If you're it's still legal fiction in their world, but that's better than that. You don't want to do this ever. And normally they'll have it in a box usually.
Yeah.
You always see your signature in a box.
That's
Means
okay.
it's not there.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a coffin.
Yeah. Yeah. Four corner rule.
And four-corner rule as well.
Yeah.
So we all know about the four-corner rule
Yeah.
and the trick in the documents.
Yeah.
The four-corner rule is simply this. If I have a contract like that, that's one contract. Okay? If I was to create a box in here and write words in that box, that creates another contract. It's a four-corner rule. If you look at all the templates, there are about 10 boxes. Those are 10 separate contracts. And you're signing that. So you're bonding yourself to perform 10 contracts without knowing. It's contract by implication. With a bunch of crooks and the tricksters. It's smoke and mirrors. That's all the game they're playing. Smoke and mirrors.
Troy, it's best if you write your own contract in a letter and attach that to any documents, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah, because all law is contract. So what you're saying, what I'm saying to people is this: when they write you with their stupid documents, what you do is, if you want to be honourable, right? You open it, and then you give them the proper way that you accept service. So in the document, what we do is syntax it. So you're going to go and highlight something and say there's something wrong with this. There's no Mr. here. Why are there 4 boxes in your contract? What do they
What
mean?
does it mean?
You see, what's all this, all capitals, what do they mean? How come you have 2 languages in your contract? Please write us in English, others leave us alone. That's the entire game right now. We're not getting involved in anything, any of their claims. Is write to us in a language that we understand.
You bother them up before you start.
So if they send you another letter,
It has to
after
be,
that was the rule do, you just send it back.
if it's in English, we'll deal with the contents. If it's not in English, we'll send it back and say we don't understand these things. We don't speak Egyptian hieroglyphic text.
American Sign Language.
Yeah.
No, it's not English. American Sign Language is not English.
You have to get that mentality. It's the same thing. The same thing you go to the venue, right? When you go to the venue and you are not an officer of the court, they cannot hear you. So you can speak as much as you want, they cannot hear you. On this side, we as well. If you don't write to me in English, I cannot see it.
Cannot hear, cannot read.
So I cannot see it. So that's what we're doing with them. All the court documents, any police, anything to do with contract, has to be in a language that we both understand, that we can both communicate in, and that we can come to an agreement under. If we cannot get a common language, what are we doing? It's not an agreement, there's no contracts. It's language the key. All the documents are written in dog Latin, it's not English, guys. Okay?
It's null and void before you start.
Exactly. Okay, it's a fraudulent document as well. So they're trying to gain agreement by using a document whose grammar is constructed by using a fraudulent language. It's called a fraudulent use of grammar. You see, the minions might not know it, but the guy who constructed the template, he knows it. The lawyer who did it, he knows it. The fact that he's put it on the system and the idiots using it don't know how to read and write, that's not our problem, is it? They're the public servant, they're supposed to know how to read and write.
Yeah,
We're
but
not
they
supposed
can't
to teach
teach me in
them.
that seat. Yeah.
You see.
So
So,
in that seat takes responsibility.
right, okay. Right, so I'm going to go through some about time as well. So what you're going to have is number one, all caps. Let me just write them down so we can. Right, all caps, dog. The boxes. Frank.
Yeah.
Unsigned. PO box. So these are all just a few of the defects in the process. You see, so if service of process is defective, the entire process is defective. So if they served you your summons in all caps with boxes on them, in front mail, they didn't sign the document, they sent it from a PO box, that document is completely void ab initio. You don't need to get involved in it.
Send it back.
Yeah, you don't need to acknowledge it. But what I'm saying is, if you do these things, you need to have standing that you know that if they ever show up and say you served me paperwork, you can deny it and say you never served me paperwork. Prove it. The proof it is something called certificate of service. If there is no certificate of service, service was never done. End of story. When you serve the documents, we have certificate of service. There's only 3 ways you can do it. Effective service, 3 ways. Number 1, I come to you and I say, oh, here you go. And then B,
Yeah.
there you go, you've been served. I've served it by hand. You see, in my documents, it's going to say on the envelope, service by hand. After that, I'm going to go home and I'm going to write an affidavit. I'm going to say on this day, January the 1st, I went to number 1 Acacia Road. I met a guy who was 3 foot tall, he had big ass eyes, and he had a big fat tummy. He looked like this, and I served him the document.
You can't do that bad.
That's it. Put it in. You see? That's the affidavit. Number 1. Number 2, use something called a recognized process server, which is called a post office. That's their job. So you go to the post office and you record your mail. So it's recorded in their system. That's number 2. Number 3, you go to the county court. There's little boys there wearing grey suits and stuff. They're called process servers. They pay over £40. You say, listen, here's the 40 quid. Go and serve this guy here. And they go and serve him, and then they write the affidavit. They went to this number 1 Acacia Street. They found a guy who was 3 foot tall, he had a big ass tummy, and I served him the document. That is certificate of service. It's certified. Service is effective. Their service is always defective. They never do that. So how come they can take people to court? You see, the only way a court can gain jurisdiction over a living man is by effective service of process.
They also write back to you and say we've had a liability.
Sorry,
The
we're just
process
carry on.
is
We're just trying to carry on.
The processes are defective, you see, right? Now, finally, I want to talk about time. So now we have the all caps, that's a defect, boxes, everything else. Now, the language is the glossa, right? All caps, and also something called past tense and future tense. This is where the trick is. When we construct our contracts, we have realized in their law, according to God, through their system, there is no future, there is no past. It's always now. It's always now. So it's always now time jurisdiction. When they construct their documents, they use past tense and future tense in the same sentence, which is not English, you see. So once they do that, that's why we syntax their language, the wording, so you go into the wording. And once we syntax it, we disqualify the contract based on the language doesn't make sense. This document doesn't say anything, and then we explain why. Now, what I'm doing is 3 simple things with the language. You have a pre and stuff. So you have a pre and stuff. So you have prefixes and suffixes to a word. You see. Now, the way they did it was by creating a language called Legalese. And they created a different version of English. So English began like that, and then they split into 2. So you have that and that. So you have English here, and then you have Legalese here. Legalese is in Dog Latin. English, they don't use that anymore. So we're going back to this. This is what we're going to use in our contracts. This one is where they change the language slightly by adding prefixes and suffixes to remove you from now time. Once I remove you from now time, and you're talking about the future, then that's a different jurisdiction, you see. So how do they do it? Let's say pick any word, something like a good one is fault. So in English, fault is got its own meaning, which I don't know.
Sorry, can you just put it a bit higher?
Oh, sorry.
People behind can't see.
Okay, what are we doing?
Fault, whose own fault?
So the trick was the word, they get a word, an English word, and then add something here or something there to change the meaning.
Yeah.
And then they use that word in their documents with understanding that when they're having a meeting at their venue, that word means what they want it to mean. That's a trick. So a word like fault, they put something like DE in front of it. You see, it's a negative. Word like moral, they put A in front of it to make it a negative. The best word is this for the people who know who they are, you see. And they went and put AB in front of it, you see. That's the trick. So that when you go up there and they ask you, are you an Aboriginal? And you say yes, it means you are not an original, you see. So they're going to deny you the rights of the original because you identify yourself as an Aboriginal. It simply means if it's moral, and I put A in front of it, it becomes a negative. You see, amoral. That's the trick. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay?
Can you just rephrase on the original? When you say, if you say you're original,
That word on its own, but they put Aboriginal in front of it to change the meaning.
What I mean is this, that the word original means like original title holder, right? Oh, this is original. The original word is original. Means,
yeah, I understand what it means.
Now, I'm going to convince you to use another word, which is called Aboriginal to describe yourself.
Aboriginal.
Yeah, yeah. But when you use this word, I know that means that you're not original. You see? Does that make sense?
A be in front of it.
Right, let me try to explain again. Now, if I'm going to claim my original rights, you see, I'm going to identify myself. Excuse me, I'm an original. I'd like to claim my original rights. Then I'll get those rights, you see, as an original. But if I come and claim to be an aboriginal, then I won't get those rights. Because the rights are reserved to the originals only. You see?
Aboriginal.
No? Yes? Does it make sense to anybody else?
Yeah.
Or, okay, for instance, this one, let's use this one, fault. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that I'm going to sue a solicitor. Right? I'm going to sue a solicitor. I know it's fault. My solicitor is at fault. However, if I draft my paperwork and put D in front of it,
It doesn't mean the same thing.
you see, and put it in their paper, in their venue, to them it means no fault.
The D changes the meaning.
You see, that's the trick. So you remove these prefixes in our documents, remove all these prefixes, so that fault remains fault. If I'm going to use the default, I'm going to put brackets around it for their understanding. So every time I use this word, I put brackets around it to say, I know what it means, I know what your trick is, and I know how you try to trick me. You see, I know it's a fault, I'm going to use that word. So that's the same. With suffix, they use ed at the end of words.
Always indeed.
Ed.
So default.
When you put ed as a suffix, it means it's past tense. And that's how they get you in the past tense jurisdiction.
Which is not, don't exist.
You see, so it doesn't exist. So any word that's got ed at the end, I don't use them anymore. Not in my contracts. So when you construct your contract, make sure you're checking these words, the prefixes and the suffixes and also words that are called no, and two consonants,
Yeah.
that's a no contract word.
Sorry, is it on this document?
A vowel and two consonants
Okay.
is a no contract word. And that's how the English language is set up.
Like account.
Account is a no contract word. Those kind of words, ACC, account. This here, that's a no contract word.
Yeah.
Vowel, two consonants. And you're going to find a whole bunch of these in the English language. A whole bunch of them.
That means no contract.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it changed the meaning again because the letters are at the
And
beginning.
the ED, what did you say, the ED?
Past tense.
Past
Past tense. Yeah. So, for instance,
I've wanted.
I have some documents that we can show.
Assistance.
Assistance. Yep. So when you're doing contracts, the wording is going to be so simple. That's the beauty of it. That all these fancy words go out the window. And assistance would be something like. So it's going to shrink. I'm sorry?
What about illegitimate?
Yeah, because the IL changes the meaning again because you've got the IL at the beginning, you've got IL, yeah. Like illegal and stuff.
I'm thinking about, illegitimate child, thinking, well, a child, there's no such thing, it's a child.
Illegitimate.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as it's a vowel and two consonants, it's a no contract word.
Yeah, you change the meaning.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, try to use simple words. Simple words like, instead of using assist, you can use help. But it's going to go back to the simplicity. Try and simplify things so that when we communicate, the language is not so difficult that we don't understand each other. You're going to simplify it so that anyone who reads it knows exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, but help is hell with a P on it.
Hmm?
Help is hell with a P on it.
Well, interpretation, what you can do is this. In our documents, we have a dictionary.
Yeah.
You see. So your case bundle is going to be your paperwork. It's going to have a dictionary and definition of what you mean by help. So it's going to have the words, the key words that you've used in your document, you're going to have your definitions. So when I say help, I mean this. And that's the wording. The term help means this. The term account means this. The term illegitimate means this. Or the term false means this.
You mean you define what you mean by
Yeah.
it?
So you create your own definitions. And if you do that, then you get away from their manuals anyway. So that's what I do with language right now. But what I want to finish on is this. The trick is the language. Do not believe, number one, that a corporation can write to a living man. It's impossible. Because it's an empty building. All there is there is paperwork.
Yeah.
Okay? That's number one. They cannot deal with you. Number two, they require your consent. That's why your signature is always, before you do anything, sign. Because that is the consent. Okay? And number three, do not allow anyone to bully you and to convince you that your life is worth nothing and that you are just some random, just freak of nature, and that you're spinning around aimlessly in oblivion. I don't know where it is. But that's nonsense. You never came from a monkey. Some people did, not everyone. Some people came from a monkey, okay? Not everyone. Some people are solar people, which means they have a connection to the sun. They have a soul. The soul, people with the souls are the ones who are, let's say, sustaining life right now on this plane. Because they're still using the heart chakra.
Yeah.
You see. So what I'm saying is, I'm encouraging people, do not lose this. Because once you lose this, the battle is finished. You see. So that's where the battle is now. That's why they're attacking you with trauma all the time, because they're attacking your heart. As soon as you stop caring, done. You might as well pack up and go home. So that's what the fight is. Hopefully we're going to go back and take back our brains as well. And hopefully we're going to take back our food as well. So that's why we encourage people. We encourage communities. If you get a community to go back to what it used to be, so that you know people around you, and you take care of this, or you're growing your own food, and you're supporting yourself that way. And here as well, where you don't watch television anymore, where you actually reason, and you meditate, and you study. And here as well, but everything you do has to come from the heart. If it doesn't come from the heart, it's worth nothing. Okay? So that's what I have to say for today. I hope it's okay. If you have any questions, I'll take them now. If we keep it brief so we can have time for the speaker. So I'm just going to go quick through the questions.
Yeah, what you said about your knowledge.
And what
Looks at that. There's only mankind on this planet. Everything else is evolved.
Right, man. Can I just say, are we done? Any questions?
Sorry, for those who want to go for a break, in 15 minutes.
Mankind and human. These are three different things. It's all the same thing. You have man, you have mankind, and then you have human. Right? Man is the original. Then there's a kind of man. The kind of man is the other one. The one who came from the monkey, the caveman. And then you have the human, it's the legal fiction.
Can we keep it down while an explanation, please?
Any other questions? Any question? Nobody? Everyone happy with that?
What would you say to people here, once people here, what do you say is a practical use of what you've been teaching?
Practical use of?
What you've been teaching. Use of what you've been explaining.
Practical use.
What's the practical use? Like explain, how can we use that to enhance
Right. What you're going to use is this. Next time
to solve some of the problems that we're experiencing.
Right. The problems that you're experiencing are this. People are making false claims that you owe them money. That's the main problem, right? Now, the practical part is this. Now you know what defective service of process is, you see. Yeah, it's always possible. Yeah, it's defective. I'm saying to you, once you know that the service of process is defective, you don't have to get in, to be a party to the proceedings. See what I mean? That's where you step away from the proceedings.
Yeah.
That's it. That's how you practice.
For instance, if someone sent you a summons and it's in a capitalized, addressed with a capitalized name or whatever it is, right? Would that be a defective?
That's what I've been saying all day.
Yeah, I think it's quick.
Any other question? No? All right, then thanks very much for coming out. And,